Hello, my friends, hello, and welcome to stately Von Manor, where Roger and I have returned to talk about comic books. Yay! Everybody loves it when I talk about comic books. That's why my comic book videos are the most popular videos I do. They're really not. Nobody watches comic book videos. Well, a few of you do. And you know what, Roger? A few people do. A few people watch my comic book videos. This is for them. 2 comic book videos this week. Wow. Exciting stuff. So today, I'm going to be talking about a current project I've got going on and a continuing project, and I'm going to spin a wheel, and that's always fun when you spin the wheel, you know, that's always exciting. So let's talk about this project that's going on. So I have a current project going on right now where I'm reading every issue of Thor. This is, well, every issue of Thor from the initial run of Thor. And the initial run of Thor ran from the early 1960s until the mid-90s. 96, I think, is when it ended. And I'm reading every single issue of Thor from that period, including annuals. And it's been a lot of fun. I'm on the 5th Epic Collection. The way I'm doing it is I have all the Marvel Epic Collections of these characters that I'm going to be talking about today. But they're not complete. Like, they haven't published the entire run of Thor in Marvel Epic Collections. So whatever I don't read in Epics, whatever isn't available here, I will read on the Magic Tablet. See, a while ago, a couple years ago, Comixology had this big sale. They had a big sale on Marvel Masterworks, and it had them, like, really dirt cheap. And so I bought, like, everything. I bought everything. I even bought Kazar, and I hate Kazar, but it was on sale. And so I bought a ton of Marvel Masterworks on sale, which in hindsight wasn't that smart. It wasn't that smart because, you know, considering what happened to Comixology, they could have all just gone up in smoke. They do all seem to be still there on the Kindle app, so they're still available. There are a few that I didn't buy, and so I will have to buy those for the project. I just won't be able to count them for my 500 book project that I've got going on. That's a whole other thing. But I will have to pick those up. But a lot of them I've got because of that big silly sale Comixology had before Amazon bought them and destroyed Comixology forever. That was sad. But, you know, whatever I don't read here, I will read here. And so I started this project on October 5th, giving myself a year to read all of Thor, the initial run of Thor. And so October 5th, 2024, I will finish this. It will be done. But then I have to decide, what's the next Marvel character I'm going to do a deep dive on? You know? And so I've picked out quite a few, because I'm going to read all of the main Marvel superheroes, all the main Marvel superhero comics. I'm going to read the initial runs of those comic books. And I'm giving myself a year to do each one, you know, so I should be done in my early 60s. You know, if I manage to survive that long, I'll be done with them anyway. Thinking positively, positive thoughts, Roger. But what is the next Marvel comic book that I'm going to do a deep dive on, as I am doing a deep dive on Thor? And I'm having a great time with this, by the way. It's an awesome, fun time. So what's the next comic book I'm going to do? Well, I'm going to give you my choices, and then I'll spin the wheel, and we will find out which one will be my next comic. Okay, the first one up for consideration is my favorite Marvel comic book superhero series of all time, the Fantastic Four. I love the Fantastic Four. It is my favorite Marvel comic book. The initial run of Thor ran 416 issues plus annuals and odd issues here or there that weren't part of the main run. It lasted from 1961 until 1996. The Fantastic Four were a victim of the dreadful Heroes Reborn experiment, but the Fantastic Four did return with a number one. Actually, they returned a few times with a few number one issues. But I am going to be reading the initial run of Fantastic Four I will read it eventually, But I'll read it next if, the wheel says so. I'll spin the wheel. Will it land on Fantastic Four? Of course, this gives you an example of the dangers of this kind of project, because there are there are long chunks of issues in the initial run of Fantastic Four that I remember not liking too much. There were some runs on the Fantastic Four which I just didn't think they were that great. And so, am I really up for reading those issues a second time? I barely got through them the first time I read them. But there were also some fantastic Fantastic Four issues, so I'm going to read it all, good or bad. Every comic book, if it lasts long enough, it has its good periods and its not so good periods. This certainly had some not so good periods, but it had some great stuff. So Fantastic Four, that's the first one up for consideration. The next one has to be, of course, the most popular Marvel superhero of all. That would be the Amazing Spider-Man. The Amazing Spider-Man. Now, the Amazing Spider-Man ran 441 issues, plus annuals and the odd graphic novel here or there. That's a lot of Amazing Spider-Man. Also, it crossed over with all these other Spider-Man titles like Web of Spider-Man and Peter Parker the Spectacular Spider-Man and whatever other Spider-Man title was out there. I'm going to concentrate on the Amazing Spider-Man stuff, but I'll be reading some other stuff too if I get Spider-Man, just because, like I said, some stories just cross over all over the place. So this ran from 1963 up until 1998. So 441 issues plus annuals and odd issues. So Amazing Spider-Man. I'm going to have to be reading Spider-Man all the time if I'm going to want to be finishing the series in 1 year. This will be challenging if I get Spider-Man. I love Spider-Man though. So we'll see. Now my favorite Marvel superhero is this one. Captain America is my favorite individual Marvel superhero. Kind of a complicated history in that he was originally a Golden Age superhero. I'm not going to be doing the Golden Age issues. I'm also not going to be doing the issues that showed up in the 1950s. I will be concentrating on the 1960s stuff, the Silver and the Bronze Age stuff, which is, what I'm concentrating on with all of these characters. That's my period, because I'm old. So that's my period of these stories. So Captain America, the 1960s Captain America, showed up in Tales of Suspense. And he shared a comic book with Iron Man. Captain America had half the issue. Iron Man had the other half of the issue of Tales of Suspense. And he was in Tales of Suspense number 59 through number 99. Then Tales of Suspense was changed to Captain America. And so it went from 59 to 99 of Tales of Suspense, and then ran as Captain America from issue 100 through issue 454. So the whole series ran from 1964 through 1996. Again, a victim of Heroes Reborn, when Captain America came back in a really, really terrible Captain America comic book. But that one didn't last long. And then he came back in a really, really good Marvel comic book. But that was a different volume of Captain America. But I'll be reading this initial 60s, the 1960s run of Captain America. If my magic tablet says so when I spin the wheel. So that's up for consideration. Then we have Iron Man. So Iron Man was in Tales of Suspense, issues number 39 through issue 99. Then, remember, that comic book became Captain America. So after Tales of Suspense 99, Iron Man had his own number 1 issue, and that lasted until issue 332. This comic ran from 1963 to 1996. So that's a lot of Iron Man. A lot of Iron Man I have not read. There's a lot of Iron Man where there were whole periods of Iron Man where I didn't read it. I do remember that it ended badly. The initial run of Iron Man ended really badly, with Iron Man becoming a murderer, and then Tony Stark was replaced by a young Tony Stark from the past or something. It was all very ridiculous. So I would have to suffer through those issues, and probably some other bad issues of Iron Man. But there's some good issues of Iron Man too. I like this initial run an awful lot with Don Heck. So we'll see. Will I get Iron Man? I don't know. Then there's the Incredible Hulk. The Incredible Hulk. This one is a little bit confusing because the initial run of the Incredible Hulk only lasted 6 issues. Man, I could do that in a year easy. So the Incredible Hulk lasted 6 issues. Then he wandered around the Marvel Universe and other people's comic books for a while. Then he arrived in Tales of Suspense. Tales of Suspense issues 59 through issue 101. Then Tales to Astonish. He arrived in Tales to Astonish issues 59 through 101. Then Tales to Astonish became The Incredible Hulk with issue 102 of The Incredible Hulk through issue 474. So 3 different comic books really, but altogether they make up really the initial run of the Hulk. And altogether they ran from 1962 through 1999. So a lot of Hulk. That's a lot of Hulk. We'll see. Will I get the Hulk? I don't know. I like the Hulk. And Hulk is a character that changed a lot over that time. So there are a lot of different versions of the Hulk that showed up in that initial run. Then the Avengers. The Avengers, which ran 402 issues plus annuals and odd issues. Those 402 issues ran from 1963 up through 1996. Again, a victim of Heroes Reborn. Again, a lot of those initial issues I did not read. I read a lot of the Avengers. I read a lot of them, but I've never read all of them from that initial 402 issue run. So will I get the Avengers? I kind of hope I do because I like the Avengers a lot. So that would be fun. This next one is, next to Spider-Man, the most popular Marvel comic ever, and that's the X-Men. I actually tried to read every issue of the X-Men and I failed miserably. So we'll see. If it falls on the X-Men, maybe I'm just destined to read the X-Men. So I would read the initial run of X-Men, which started off as X-Men, became the Uncanny X-Men. So there was a slight title change. But altogether, that's 444 issues, which ran from 1963 through 2011. So that's a long time. Now there was a time in the X-Men where in the early stages of the X-Men, where they stopped doing original issues and just did reprints for a while. I forget how many issues of the X-Men were just reprints of earlier issues. But obviously I'm not going to read those because I will have just read them. So I'll skip the reprints, obviously, but every other issue of the X-Men in that initial run I will read, including annuals and graphic novels and all the other stuff that showed up around that time. And this is going to be tough to do in a year. I'll have to be reading the X-Men all the time. Next, Daredevil. Daredevil. I like Daredevil. He's always been kind of a second-string Marvel superhero. But man, he's had some great runs, Daredevil has. Of course, the standout is the Frank Miller time of Daredevil, but he's had some good stuff, Daredevil has. I mean, some terrible Daredevil issues as well, some terrible runs on Daredevil, but you know, that's the way it is with any comic book that lasts any amount of time at all. And Daredevil, the initial run, lasted 380 issues. It ran from 1964 through 1998. So Daredevil, that first run of Daredevil lasted a long time. So that's Daredevil. One more comic, and it's not a superhero at all. But I had to throw this in here because I would like to read every issue of this comic book. This is Conan the Barbarian. Now, I don't have Conan in Epic Collections. Marvel Comics lost the license to Conan before they could reprint all of the Conan Marvel Epic Collections, but they did manage to reprint all of Conan in these big omnibus volumes. So I do have every issue of this initial run of Conan published by Marvel Comics, Robert E. Howard's great hero Conan. Conan ran for 275 issues. Conan ran from 1970 through 1993. Should be very doable to read every issue of Conan. So that's 275 issues plus annuals, king size things, and specials, and graphic novels, you know. Most of which were printed in the Marvel omnibuses. Even the odd what if issues and stuff, they were all printed in the Marvel Comics omnibus collections. So I wouldn't mind if the wheel landed on Conan. We will see. Now it is time. I've been jabbering on for 15 minutes. Let's spin the wheel on my magic tablet. Let's do it. Let's spin the wheel. Let's spin the wheel. Okay, here it is. Here's the wheel. Here's the wheel. Let's see. Who will I get? Who will I get? I will get the Fantastic Four. I got the Fantastic Four. I got the Fantastic Four. Wow. Okay. So the Fantastic Four, like I said, it is my favorite Marvel superhero, comic book. Did have some rough times on the Fantastic Four, but had some great periods as well. And I will be reading, where did I put that Fantastic Four epic collection? Here it is. I will be reading the Fantastic Four after Thor. So starting October 5th, because I will start the Fantastic Four hopefully the same day I end Thor, if I don't end Thor early. Starting October 5th and running through 2025, I will be reading the Fantastic Four. And then a year from now, we will spin the wheel again. Isn't this exciting? Isn't this exciting, Roger? Oh, man. I bet like 12 of you stayed awake for this video. Okay. I will catch you next time.